Greetings to all my tech heads out there in the KevTechify nation, and if you're new here, welcome. In this episode, we're going to look at scaling to larger networks. We'll be discussing small network growth, protocol analysis, and employee network utilization. This episode is part of my series on Introduction to Networks for the CCNA. I'm Kevin here at KevTechify. Let's get this adventure started. As your company grows, as the number of devices on your network grows, you're going to need to scale your network. It's going to have to become bigger. You're going to need to add more capacity. In order to add more capacity, you have to add more devices onto your network. There's several steps which you need to do in order to help you make sure you can successfully grow your network. First two here, and I usually combine these two together, is network documentation and device inventory. You need to know what you have on your network. You need to know what your capacities are. You need to understand what devices you have, what ports you have available, where you can grow in your existing network. And that also comes into saying, what devices do I have? Are they expandable? Are they not? Do we need to completely replace these devices? Then, as you figure out what you have and what you need and where you're headed, you need to figure out your budget. Now, this budget just isn't a single number you give to upper management. This is a fully itemized budget. What you're going to need. We're going to need devices. We're going to need to improve our infrastructure. We have to pull new wiring. We have to add electricity in. We have to look at adding some cooling in. Maybe we need to remodel a room in order to give us more storage area. Then we need to look at any ongoing costs. Every month, every year, we need to pay a maintenance. We need to pay a monthly access fee. And then finally, one of the last things people don't include in that budget is training. Make sure you get training for either yourself so you understand this new technology, or for the people who are going to use it, train them on how to use that technology. Because if you put in a new technology and people don't use it because they don't understand it, that new technology was not a good investment. And finally, what you need to look at here is do a traffic analysis. You need to go in there and understand what's going across my network. What protocols am I using? I'm using TCP, but am I sending real-time traffic across it? Am I planning on sending real-time traffic across it? Or is it slower traffic? What applications are being used on my network? Are they data intensive? Are they continually sending data? Or is it like a web page? You load it in and then you spend several minutes reading that web page. And then finally, what other services do we have running on our network? Because a lot of times the services behind the scenes, maybe they're running some synchronizing between them where they're constantly updating each other. We need to make sure that we are getting that conversation happening. All of these go together to help you make decisions. Now, you're probably not going to make that decision, but you need to get all of this documented, and then you can present it to the people who actually make the decisions. To understand the type of traffic going across your network, as well as the current traffic flow, the amount of information going across your network, most people do what we call a protocol analysis. What they do is they capture information about the traffic during peak utilization. Maybe peak utilization is right away in the morning when everybody gets in, starts up their computers, they download all the information for the day, they're logging in, they're processing all the datas and orders. That would be your peak utilization. You want to capture that information. You want to create a log of what's going across my network, how much is going across there, what protocols are being used, where are the bottlenecks at that point in time. Once you have that, you need to do this maybe at different segments on your network. Maybe you have your accounting segment where there's not a lot of data actually going across your network all day long, but your customer service where they're doing voice and video to support your customers, they have different requirements and different needs. So those two segments of your network, they would require different solutions to make sure they can do their job. Once you gather this information, you actually need to evaluate that. You need to evaluate it. I know several companies that collect all sorts of data, but then they never go back and look at it. If you're going to collect the data, go back and at least look at it and see if you can identify trends or patterns. Maybe figure out where your bottlenecks are. Maybe if we do a small investment here, that's going to be a huge improvement overall on our network. And taking that information, once you look at it, you can typically make great business decisions, help improve the productivity of the people on your network to help them make the company more money. And once again, that's the ultimate goal here, is you're supporting the people to help the company make money. I hope you're liking this episode on scaling to larger networks. If you have the time, please leave a comment and let me know what you think about scaling to larger networks. You can also visit my website at KevTechify.com for all of my details and how to get these episodes in video and podcast form. Many operating systems provide you network utilization tools. They help you identify where you have problems on your network, where you have extra capacity. These are built into the operating system. There's also a whole collection of third-party tools, open source, there's paid tools, help you identify all the characteristics of your network and the devices on your network. They look at the different OSs and OS versions. The argument can be made that Windows 10 operates more efficiently than Windows 8 on the exact same hardware. And so knowing what versions of operating system you're running could help you improve performance on your network. Then we can look at different types of utilization from the CPU. Is my CPU being used all the time or not? CPU should be used when needed. And oftentimes it spikes for a couple of seconds and then it goes down. Overall, if you look at your CPU utilization, it should be at about 5%. But when you load in a new application or you process data, it's going to spike up to 100% for a couple seconds and then go down. That is perfectly fine for that CPU utilization. RAM utilization, how much RAM is being used? Most of the time people say if you're using over 50% of your time, you need to start looking at getting more RAM into those devices. As we know, the more RAM you use, the slower your computer is going to react. The slower your networking device is going to react, thereby slowing down the end result, the productivity of your user. Drive utilization, to me, means two different things. How full is your hard drive? If you have a full hard drive, if you have full storage, your computer is going to go really slow. That device is going to slow down. It's not going to process information. The other thing with drive utilization is how much data is being written and read from your hard drive. Are we looking at data is being written and read from your storage constantly? If it's constantly being written and read, it's going to slow that throughput down on your system. But if it sits there idle, and then when you load an application or you load a new file in, it does a whole lot of reading, and it's at 100% utilization for your drive for a couple seconds, but then it drops back down. That's pretty good. But if you're always at 100%, maybe you need to look at increasing your storage. Maybe capacity, maybe going from a hard drive that has spinning plates in it to a solid state drive. And finally, you need to look at the applications being used on your network. Are they working good with our network, or are they just causing lots of problems, causing lots of bottlenecks on my network? You need to go through and analyze this. Sometimes you have applications that are designed to work on a network. Sometimes you have applications that aren't designed to work on a network. And your business needs to use all of them to be productive. You need to figure out, how do I go about making these applications all work together on our network? What we do here is we take a snapshot of all of these different utilizations, versions, applications, and over time, as we take more and more snapshots, we can see that, okay, our devices, utilization is growing 10% every month. And at the end of the year, we're going to be we're going to be out of extra capacity. We need to start planning for that right now. And a lot of times, if you can plan something ahead of time, implement it before it's needed, it works much better instead of saying, hey, all of a sudden we're at 100% utilization, we need to fix this. Taking these snapshots over time is definitely going to help you as a network administrator. It was my pleasure to provide you with this wonderful episode on scaling to larger networks. If you like this episode and you got value out of it, please click that like button, give a 5-star rating, leave a comment. This all helps me bring you more great content. Please take a minute to subscribe to my channel. All my socials and contact information are on my website, KevTechify.com. There you can find out how to get all these episodes in video and podcast form. In the upper right is my playlist for my series on Introduction to Networks for the CCNA. In the bottom right is one of my favorite videos that I linked just for you. Thank you so much for watching this episode of my series on Introduction to Networks for the CCNA. Once again, I'm Kevin. This is KevTechify. I'll see you next time for another great adventure.